Hi, this is Ben from 561 Music Podcast. Right now, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It just helps us get out there more. It also enables us to monetize the podcast, to make it better, do more advertising for it and things like that. Subscribe to the podcast and hit the notifications button. That would be doing us a really big favor. Thank you very much. Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
And how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing fantastic.
Come on then, spill the beans. Tell us all about what happened.
Oh, you mean Firefest 2022 in Las Vegas?
That's it.
Yeah, no, man. It sucked. It sucked. I can't say enough that it sucked.
Yeah.
You know? I got my When We Were Young emo Firefest 2022 shirt on.
If anyone wants a When We Were Young emo Firefest 2022 t-shirts,
I need to make up some money. If anybody would like one of these shirts, happy to sell you one. I got to make up some lost money. Yeah, man. Thousands of dollars in airline tickets. I mean, there was 5 of us, with my family. It was my kids and stuff. So thousands of dollars in airline tickets. Hotels were jacked up in prices. I mean, the same hotel we stayed at the night before, the whole week before that we got there, was about $60-$70 a night, and that was like their typical rate. This was the Virgin Hotel, which is the old Hard Rock Hotel. Okay, so that was their typical rate. Yeah. Starting the night we were there, which is the weekend for the festival, $300 a night. Like they were just gouging everybody. Ubers were like. What
was it like in the hotel? Was it okay?
Oh, it was good. That was a gorgeous hotel. I mean, it was a great hotel. Very, very upscale, very nice. I've stayed there before when it was Hard Rock and they had all the memorabilia and stuff, and they took all that out now that it's a Virgin Hotel or whatever. Right. So they took all that stuff out.
They just have like trains and airplanes in there now?
No. They had just very upscale. They have four pools and like all these cabanas and just a ton of nightclubs and restaurants and stuff like that. I guess
that's a silver lining. At least you weren't playing.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, I wasn't staying like in a Motel 6 or anything. I was staying in a nice hotel, and there was casinos and stuff, and we got to walk around. We did a bunch of different things. We went horseback riding at one point on some.
I saw that. That's so cool.
Yeah, that was fun. It was like a sunset horseback ride with some barbecue and stuff. So I mean, we did some stuff, but I mean, it was stuff we were going to do anyways. It's not like it replaced the festival. So.
No, I really feel sorry for your kids, man. They were all the way out there. You know, they were really looking forward.
And we were standing there about to head over, and I got a text from Ricky Bobby. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh man, sorry. I just found out the festival was canceled." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, ha ha ha, the festival was canceled." Thinking it was a joke.
How did he find out?
Because they posted it on social media.
Oh,
like literally like 5 minutes before the gate was supposed to.
Man,
open.
He's like a detective. That
and
guy.
So then he sent me the screenshot of the Instagram from When We Were Young, and I'm like, "Son of a bitch!" And it was like from a high to a low because we had just gone out, as you know. We were also doing. We hit 25 years of marriage, and so we were also renewing our vows. We had literally just finished that, and we were like on a high. They had taken all these photos. We did the whole ceremony. It was so much fun. It was like really, it was like at the Rock and Roll Chapel. It was like all Kiss themed and everything. It was really cool, man. It was really fun. And I was just reeling from that and smiling, grinning from ear to ear. Kelly looked fantastic, and I was like, man, this is great. What do you mean the festival was canceled? And I'm like, wah wah, just ruined the day.
I've never felt so bad to be right about anything in my life.
Oh man,
because you work really hard and you needed a vacation, and I'm just really sorry that it didn't work out for us.
Oh, man. Yeah, that did cross my mind too, man. Like you had said to me on the podcast many times, like, I hope it's not a hoax. I hope it's not a hoax. And then when it was canceled, I'm like, damn it, Ben.
Well, I don't think I necessarily thought it was a hoax. It just seemed a little bit too good to be true. And I was like, oh, I bet something happened. I just had a bad feeling about it.
Here's the thing. I don't even, we could talk about this for hours, man, but I'm not even sure. They say it was for weather, and I don't doubt that definitely played, some part in it or something. They were worried about high winds or something. But, I think it was Hunter from Spread the Dub that I posted something about it was canceled for high winds, and Hunter made a comment, and he's like, high winds. He's like, that's a Tuesday in Florida. And he's not wrong. Like, we don't cancel things like that here for weather and rain and whatever. It's rain or shine. It's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to know, isn't it? I mean, I suspect that they probably did have some health and safety people say they couldn't do it, and it's just unfortunate. Like Matt Krug was working it, and, and he he was saying that it was crazy. I mean, apparently it was very windy.
It was very windy. I'm not gonna say it wasn't very windy, but was it? Oh my God! I'm so glad we're not at the festival. Windy? Not even close.
Really?
Not even close. Again, we've had worse storms here, and the thing is, and I wasn't there. I didn't actually go to the festival grounds because at that point I found out before we went, and there was no point in going.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually go to the festival grounds, and maybe Matt could shed some light on it for us at some point, but. My understanding from a lot of posts I read from people that were standing in line when they came up to the gate and said, sorry, no festival today. My understanding is that it didn't look like any of the food vendors had been set up. It looked like they were still like a bunch of chaos and a bunch of things going on. So if they were canceling at that 11th hour, either they already knew they were going to cancel because things weren't set up, or they weren't ready. Which plays into it as well.
I know Matt had set up his bar and then was told it wasn't happening, so he definitely set up.
Yeah.
But maybe there were some other people who knew more.
But by their own admittance, on their Facebook and Instagram posts, it actually said, we really apologize, and we've been contemplating this for 4, 5, 6 days now. Watching the weather reports, and we've been on the fence for about 5 days. And here's the thing. If I knew 5 days in advance that there was a potential of it being canceled, would I have canceled my Vegas trip? Probably not. But at that point, that's on me. It's a choice that I made, and it's a risk that I took. And if it got canceled, then it got canceled.
Yeah.
But if you knew 5 days in advance that it was a really good potential that this was going to happen, and you didn't say anything, and I had airline tickets that I could have rescheduled for a different trip. I had a hotel that I could have canceled and used the money for a different trip. I mean, come on, man. So,
no, it is a lot, and it's so bummer. I'm sorry that happened, man. It's a real bummer.
Is what it is, man. Today's a new day, and we have a great guest. So let's move on to that.
Absolutely. Jesse Young, how's it going, man?
It's good, man. How are you guys?
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you, and I've seen you from afar online and things like that over the years, and it's just great to have you on. You got in touch with us through the website, and actually one of the things we love about that is when we started this podcast, it was all people that we knew, really, like our friends, you know? And so it's nice to actually now we're like the people who watch it. We're kind of finding out about stuff we didn't know very much about, which is what this is really meant for. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my friend Ricky, your friend Ricky, our friend Ricky, I saw him on it, which is how I heard about the show and was really interested in what you guys were doing. And, again, anybody that gives an opportunity for a local artist to, shine and, spread their, whatever they're doing is always a great thing, because there's not enough of that in a lot of places. So I was really interested in what you guys were doing and thought it was a great platform, and figured, hey, let me talk to them and see if, it's something I could get on. So
awesome.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, let's get right from the beginning then. How did you find it? What was the situation and vibe like when you were a kid? Was it conducive to making music? Did you have supportive parents and stuff?
I didn't start doing music until middle school. I mean, my mom likes to show this photo of me being like 3 years old, sitting on like a step with a little toy guitar, serenading some girl that was our neighbor at the time. And I don't remember that or why I was doing it, other than maybe you're just a 3-year-old.
You've been married like 20 years now.
Yeah, right, yeah. But I started playing saxophone in middle school. I wanted to play the drums, but my mom was like, drums are too loud, and you need an instrument that you can play for the family at holiday parties. So
because sax isn't loud.
Yeah, well, not compared to the drums. You can't really play "We Wish You Merry Christmas" at the holiday party on the drums. So
wouldn't be that great.
I played sax, and then switched to percussion in high school. I wanted to be a drummer. I wanted to be a rock and roll drummer, but I wasn't as good at the drum set as I was the other percussion instruments. Four-mallet marimba and timpani and all that. I marched and all that kind of stuff. And I picked up the guitar just for fun because, again, you can't go to like a party with friend's house and bring your drum kit. So
did you learn all the theory with the percussion? Did you do all the notes and all that stuff?
Yeah. When you're playing marimba and xylophone and all that, especially the four-mallet stuff, it's kind of like piano in a
yeah,
sense.
it's a great basis for understanding music. That's kind of why I asked, because it gives you that structure that then when you learn every other instrument after that, you've got this basis. You know?
And I knew that from the saxophone, so it was
Right.
kind of a little bit easy to
Yeah.
translate it into the percussion, just now using your hands and everything.
I played sax when I was a kid too. I still think of notes as if I'm playing on the sax. Like if I'm imagining a melody in my head, I kind of play it, like,
Right.
like on the sax in my head.
So odd because his story of wanting to play drums and then ending up on sax is exactly, we've talked about this, exactly what happened to me. I was actually in first grade, and I went to a meeting, a band meeting or whatever, and they were talking about the different instruments and demoing all the different instruments, and they never showed the drums, and I guess it was a different meeting for drums, but I didn't know, and I was like, Mom, there's no drums. I want to play drums, and my mom was like, No, there's no drums in this band. And she's like, You're playing saxophone, and that was it. And then my first band practice, I show up, and the band director's there, and here comes my best friend, and he breaks out a snare drum, and I'm like, What the hell, man?
You're the only sax, and there's like 8 drummers.
Right. I'm like, I've been duped.
Oh man, that sucks. So yeah, all right, cool. So you played actually quite a lot of music when you were young then.
Yeah, nothing before 6th grade,
Right.
and I don't even remember really the reason why I decided to get into it. I mean, my dad had a guitar, but he never played it growing up or anything like that. So there really wasn't a musical thing going on in the household. Like
Right.
I've heard some
Yeah.
people say, like, oh, my parents were in bands or this or that.
Yeah.
There wasn't any of that, but I just always liked music, and
Yeah. Did they play music a lot in the house, like kind of just records? and stuff?
Sometimes, I mean, mostly like in the car, you'd be forced to listen to what they were listening to. And when you were a kid, it was like I didn't appreciate a lot of the stuff that they were into until I got a bit older, But yeah, I don't know. Middle school
Church?
started it, and
Church or nothing like that? No, okay.
Yeah.
no. So it was just I got into it into high school, and like I said, I wanted to be a drummer, but I just wasn't very good. I went to high school with a guy that was amazing at the drums. He's still
Right.
one of my favorite drummers ever, and I kind of wish he hadn't given it up and gone into the corporate world because he's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
we kind of accidentally started a band, and then next thing you know, I'm a singer and a guitar
cool.
player. And
How old are you at this point?
18. We
Okay.
started our senior year of high school.
Cool.
It was me and 2 drummers, 2 guys that I was in marching. We were all in drumline together.
Yeah.
One our drummers, he had congas at the house, and so it was me and 2 drummers, and we played a talent show together. And at
Nice.
that talent show, we met another guy who played guitar, and so then it was the 4 of us. So we went like a year maybe without a bass player, and then we got into college and met our bass player, and then just next thing you know, we're playing 150 shows a year, all through
wow.
college. So it was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So were you doing those kind of sort of cover type shows, like make money type shows, or was it all originals?
All originals.
And 150 a year, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we were playing, not every year. I mean, freshman year and sophomore year, we're kind of building that, but I'd say by my junior, senior year, we were playing almost every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we go
Nice.
tour the East Coast every spring break. I grew up in Michigan, so I went to Michigan State, and so every spring break, we'd go play up New York and Philly and, different places. We used to go and play a bunch of colleges in Philadelphia. And
What
and
kind
go
of
back.
music is it? I'm dreading. I know you're going to say emo now because I was dissing
What that
it
we were doing?
earlier. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same stuff that I do now. I don't know. I guess it's acoustic rock.
Okay.
It's
Was
very
it songs that you wrote?
yeah.
Yeah. Was it like were you the only writer?
Yeah. No, I wasn't the only one. When we first started out, there was the other guitar player. He and I kind of wrote some songs together. We wrote songs separately, and he would sing some, and I would sing some, and we did harmonies and stuff together.
Okay.
We used, just kind of played all the time.
I don't usually
good.
ask this. Sorry, yeah, I don't usually ask this question this early on, but seeing as we're kind of talking about it and we brought up songwriting, do you have a way that you write songs? How do you go about creating a song?
It takes a long time. I feel like, just because now, with work and family and those types of things, I don't have as much time to just sit down and do it. So voice notes are my best friend. I record everything into them because it could be, I have an idea on a guitar or a melody line or whatever, and you put it in there and it could be 6 months before I get back to doing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I might even have like the song mapped out, but I don't even have any clue for the lyrics.
Sure.
And then a year later we start recording the song, and then we get all the way to the point where next week I got to go sing. It's like, well, I better write the lyrics now. And then, then the lyrics come literally right before, even though we've been recording the whole time, lyrics are getting done right before. So it kind of depends, but I have to start with music and a melody.
Okay.
It's kind of the basis. If I'm not into what I'm doing on the guitar or what I think the melody is going to be, I got to move on.
Does it affect you? Do you try and think of a theme for it like along with the music, or is that completely separate, like in terms of lyrical content?
Every once in a while, I mean, sometimes I'll have an idea for a song, and then you can build it around that. But honestly, sometimes when I'm writing and I'm singing the melody and just trying to make something up, I'm singing nonsense words, or sometimes I'm repeating the same word over and over again. But sometimes it's honestly whatever comes out, because maybe it fits right with the rhyme scheme or the way the melody flows. And I've written a song because of a line that I've just spewed out, where I'm like, oh, I kind of like the way this sounds. Yeah. Let me now build the song around that.
That's interesting. I've done that before as well, but I always feel like I'm chasing my tail a little bit when it's like that. So what I'll do sometimes, like we have this song Fall on Your Sword, and I wrote the line, "No need to fall on your sword, my son. There's no shame in you being wrong." I had this like line in my head.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, all right, that's now what is it about, and I had to figure that out, and it took me ages to figure that out, but I had that line for like 9 months before I got the rest of the song.
This last record that I did in 2019, there was this song where I had this line, "Get on with your new life," and I was like, I kind of like that, and so it was a breakup song, and it was not about anything that I went through necessarily, but I just figured I had this line, let me build a story around that, and then that's where the song came from. So I try to write from a personal perspective, where it's something that I've gone through or something that means something to me. But every once in a while, you just have an idea for a song because you're influenced from maybe somebody else's life. I've written songs about other people's relationships or things that they've gone through. I had one of my best friends was going through something years ago, and a song came out that was about his situation.
Right. Yeah.
You just try to find it from wherever, and I try to not write about the same things over and over again.
I find that really difficult.
As much as you can. It's hard to. You're going to end up kind of writing the same songs, but from different perspectives. But
yeah, I definitely go through like these kind of seasons of these like months and months of just being there being like a recurrent theme, and I have to kind of put it down and walk away and then come back to it, a little bit later so that I can snap out of that mode.
Everybody does that though. I mean, if you listen to some of your favorite bands, sometimes they'll catch artists where it's like you hear the same lyric line almost being used or the same word being used in multiple songs. It's like, all right, clearly this was just stuck in their brain and they didn't realize, oh, I used that in this song and then I used it in this one. But now in the context of the record, and maybe the songs are back to back, you're like, oh, they just kind of said the same thing, here.
Yeah.
I think that's just human nature.
Yeah, totally. I have certain themes that always come up. The sea always comes up. Traveling, like moving to the US always comes up. And I must have put the phrase "keep on keeping on" in about 20 songs.
Right?
I only write breakup songs, but I've been with my wife for 25 years.
Yeah, I was waiting for this story. Yeah. When he said that, before.
Yeah, it's all I write is breakup songs. But we've been married 25 and we've been together 28 or 29.
Yeah, a breakup fantasy.
Yeah, I guess.
Every time when I write one of those, like I've got one from this new record and that I'm working on, and when I went to play it for, I was like, okay, look, this is not me saying anything to you. This is not a song about a previous thing. It's literally just, again, it was a word that came out when I was writing it, and I built a song around that theme and what that that story was.
I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, she does something and then I get upset and then I say, don't make this album about you.
That's funny.
It never happens.
But I had a lot of like love songs, when we first started dating, when in the earlier stuff that I was working on. So like on the last record I did, I was like, all right, I need to try not to do as many love songs. I feel like I've done a lot of that. Let me try to write some different things and some different topics. So try to be aware of like what you've done in the past and not repeat it as much as possible. But again, sometimes there's just only so many scenarios. I didn't have a bad childhood. I wasn't, my father didn't leave me, so it's like I don't have some of these things that like other songwriters can pull from. I can only pull from the stuff that I've gone through, and
and actually you can really only pull from the stuff you've gone through, even if you've only gone through it a bit, because otherwise you're kind of shooting in the dark. You just sort of, and then you can end up writing something good, but I don't know if personally I would ever feel good about singing it because I'd know it wasn't basic. I wouldn't be able to put myself into it,
I like when the songs come from, you can tell that it's a personal perspective. Like I feel like a lot of the music now, especially in the really popular stuff, it feels like song by committee in a way, where like they're just getting in a room and going, all right, we need a song about this. Like we need a party song or we need a breakup song, and it's all right, let me find a really clever phrase and then we're going to write the lyrics that fit that, rather than being like, all right, there was this one time where I did this. There's an artist that I really like, and he wrote a song about his trip to Portland, I think, or somewhere on the West Coast, where he's kind of describing going out to the Pacific Northwest. And when you're listening to it, you kind of feel like you're there, because the way the imagery he's using, he's kind of describing, and you're like, all right, this is like he went there and experienced all this, and he's kind of telling you about it. And to me, it just feels way more authentic than if he had gotten in a room and was like, oh, let's write a song about going climbing in the mountains, like it's
totally. And it feels more authentic because it is more authentic.
Right.
You can't fake real.
Yeah, I'm gonna write a song about not going to a music festival. Sorry,
trauma.
Sorry,
Poor
I've been
traumatized.
traumatized. But you, in all fairness, you could write a love song album, like a whole album of love songs, but like have one be, you love a girl and you love a guitar and you love ice cream, whatever whatever the case may be. So
yeah, there you go.
I mean, they're all technically different.
I think our next album is going to be all straight bangers, just like kind of fast crazy party song after fast crazy party song, and I'm just gonna I sort of made a decision to make the lyrics just lighthearted and fun, which I've never really done. Everything of mine is always like these big themes and kind of depressing lyrics,
right?
So I'm going to try a bit of a different approach. So when it comes to recording, how have you gone about that traditionally? Do you ever record anything at home?
I don't have a setup at home, and honestly, I don't know enough about all that stuff to do it on my own. I mean, I've got GarageBand and stuff, and I've, every once in a while I'll try to mix in like a little demo if I have an idea that I feel like I need to get the idea across in that way. But I've been working with a guy named Zach Ziskin. He's he's from down in the Broward area, Miami, whatever. But he was a singer-songwriter himself, and when I first moved here, I went to Alligator Alley, the former place in Fort Lauderdale, and they used to have a stand set up with like flyers and stuff that people could grab, people could drop off, and you could take. And he had a 3-song CD in there. And so when I went in to inquire about playing there, I grabbed the CD and I liked his original stuff. And then years later, I ended up meeting him through some other friends, and he produced a record by this girl the production was just phenomenal. And then we did a record together in 2010, like a 4-song EP. And then it's just been me and him ever since. And so we did another 5 songs in 2016, 17, and then we finally made a record in 2019. And then since 2020, we've been recording basically, a little bit here and there. And now, over two years later, we've got another record done. So
he has his own studio then, or you guys?
Yeah,
go
I mean,
somewhere?
honestly, the thing that I love about technology now is we don't have to be in a big studio. When we did the first record that we did together, we went to a studio down in Pompano, and had a big room and a big console and all of that, and recorded all together. Yeah. But now, honestly, like the drummers that I'm using, they're all based in Nashville for the most part.
Oh, really?
Like on the last record, I used a guy named Hubert Payne who plays in a big country band called Little Big Town.
Yeah.
And
how did you find him?
Zach found him, actually. It was crazy when we were trying to find a drummer. He said, hey, I've got this guy. This guy plays in Little Big Town. This guy plays for Brett Eldredge. And I was like, well, those are 2 big bands. I'm actually a big fan of Brett. And I was so we kind of auditioned them, had them each play a song, and we ended up liking the one guy, his style a little bit better.
The production on your stuff is great.
Yeah, and he did everything remotely, because that's what these guys do when they're not touring. They've got their own home studio setups, and so they can record and send it back. And then for this new record, I've gone through, like the first 6 songs was a bunch of different people. I used Hubert again for 2 songs, and then I used the guy in L.A. But then I found this guy on Instagram who's in Brazil, and he's such a badass, and he's so good, and the way that he records sonically is great. Like when Zach's gotten the stuff, he said like his stuff comes in sounding better than a lot. Like he doesn't have to do as much work on it to make it sound great. And so I used him for the last 6 songs. He's been like super excited about
drums. I forget. Yeah.
He's like excited about it too, which is always a plus when like the people that you're working with dig it as much as you do.
Yeah.
So he's been really cool to get to know, and we become friends, and he's actually moving to Orlando in December. What? So we keeps talking about we got to get together. So
maybe that'll end up. So when you play live gigs, who's in the band? When was the last time you played?
It's last year. Like an original gig was last year, but I did a couple of. I think I did 1 or 2 cover gigs at the beginning of this year, but I haven't really been playing live as much. I've just been working on the recording, but I really don't play with the band all that often. I've done Sunfest a couple of times, so I've had to put a band together for that, and that's just been like, again, some of the friends and people that I know, and you just kind of get together and do it. But I'd love to do more of it because I miss playing with a band, and I feel like my music and the way that I play is more suited for a band than like me solo.
Right.
But it's
just sound great solo as well, though. I think because you've got such a percussive playing style. But I can see that because it's almost like when you're playing solo, you're imitating what could be there a little bit, the way you play.
But I just don't know people to like put together a band. So that's the thing.
Right.
I've tried, through different Facebook groups that I'm a part of in the South Florida scene to look for people, but I just haven't had any luck like finding good people. Most of the people, like if they're really good, they're probably already doing a million projects, that's or thing, and it's hard to like put together somebody, for especially an original type deal.
It's like getting remarried when you're in your 40s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what do women always say when like in their 40s and they're looking for a man? They're like, all the good ones are all already taken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So I clicked on you filled out our form and stuff, and it gave us all the information and stuff, and I clicked on your YouTube link and went to your YouTube page. I'm not sure which song it was that came up first, but whatever it was, it said
all of us playing
together. But you weren't together though.
No, we were all remotely.
It was all like a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
Is that like the drummer in Brazil?
Yeah, that's the drummer in Brazil.
That's awesome, man.
So
it sounded amazing.
He's got a great studio setup. I mean, he does a lot of recording for people down there and everything. And so he just recorded himself playing along to the track. And so then I just asked everybody else. My bass player is a guy named Fernando Perdomo, who's a local guy from Miami. He's big in the Miami scene down there for years. He's in LA now, but he's one of my favorite bass players. So it's like he's got his own studio in LA. So he records and he'll send me a video of every time he records, he always sends me a video of him tracking it.
That's
just because he knows that I like to see it,
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, can you record this one and send it to me and I'm going to use it. So we all just recorded ourselves playing and then just edited it together to get like sort of a performance video. But it looks
When was that?
Zoomers.
When did you do it?
This song was maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
It's one of the newer ones that we've been working on for this new, which is now it's an album. But honestly, at the time when we started it in October of 2020, it was just we're in the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Can we record a music? Because it's the only thing that I can do. I've got a song idea. We went in to do one
song. Did you do another
song.
one of those videos for that as well?
No,
that was a lot of people were doing them in the pandemic.
That was the first video that we did like that. The couple of songs that I had done before that, I've done lyric videos for.
Yeah.
And I've been working with a really great guy out of Chicago named Brian Shutters, who does really great lyric video stuff. But that one, he wasn't available or something. And so I was like, well, this could be a video where I could do something different. And it was something that I could do on my own. So anytime I can do something myself, it's, I try to do it because then, you're not outsourcing it or, paying for it and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
so
if you want something done right, do it yourself,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I always do it right myself, but sometimes it's just easier because then you're not, again, if you're working with people that are really talented, they're usually super busy.
Yeah.
Brian, he's been really nice to like fit me into his schedule, but he's done a lot of he's working with major label artists and he's done some lyric videos for like one of my favorite artists, which is how I found him. And so
Who's that?
His name's Ben Rector.
Right.
A singer-songwriter. He's, kind of really blown up in the last couple of years. And he was Brian was on tour with them this last tour and, just directed one of his new videos and stuff. And
that's awesome.
I found him. He did a lyric video for Ben's Thanksgiving song last year. And it's one of the best lyric videos I've ever seen because it's like a Thanksgiving scene with all the food, but all of the packaging are the lyrics to Ben's song. But it looks like the stovetop stuffing container, but it's Ben's lyrics or whatever.
Do they light up when it goes through or something?
No, it's like it's he actually shot it for real and everything was made. So it's not computer animated on. It's
nice.
He actually printed out, the packaging for it to make it look like that, and then he had somebody turn the thing around. It's really
idea. We should do that.
It's really, really well done. And when I saw that, I was like, who did this? And I found him. He's a graphic designer. We're both in advertising, or he used to be. And so I reached out and just told him I liked his work, and he was like, if you ever need graphics or anything, let me know. So
that's cool.
He did a couple of lyric videos for me. He's designed all of the album covers for these last couple of projects that I was releasing over the last year.
Yeah.
And he's been great. But again, he's always really, really busy. So if he's tied up around the road, then again, it's like, all right, well, now I want to get this out. He's not available. I'll just do something myself, so that way at least I can get it done.
That's awesome. I just that whole idea of doing a lyric video where you film it and write stuff on the. I'm totally going to do that with one of our songs on the new album. That's a killer idea.
Yeah, my buddy Jacob Jeffries, who was another Miami guy that lives in LA, he did a lyric video a couple of years ago where he did everything in sidewalk chalk and then filmed it going down the sidewalk.
Oh, God damn it.
It's such a great idea.
No, but Hector does that for a living.
Oh, really?
He's a chalk artist.
Yeah, it's called, I think it was Even Now was the song. If you look up Jacob Jeffries, or maybe I'll find it and send you the link. But it's a great video. And when I saw it, I was like...
No excuses.
You know what's really cool is they now have this. It's not chalk, but they have this paint.
Yeah.
It looks clear. It literally is clear, and you can paint and stuff on a sidewalk. And what it actually does is it coats the sidewalk so that it's it repels water.
Yeah.
And so when you let it dry, sidewalk looks just like normal, but when you hose it down with water, that the image shows up.
Oh.
Like as a separate tone from whatever the sidewalk, from the wet sidewalk and stuff. And so we could do something like that where we paint the lyrics and it's just a regular sidewalk, and as the water, spray it from one end, and as the water is running down, it starts reveling lyrics down the sidewalk.
I'm getting into it first.
Oh, man. I already did it. Too late. I did it 5 minutes ago.
But I did a song a couple years ago called Part-Time Rockstar, and I did a stop motion video where I made a bunch of, I made all the lyrics in like, I don't know if it was PowerPoint or something like that, but one of those, like keynote type presentations. So I printed out 230 slides, I think it was, where the lyrics would kind of animate as the text would come in for the different words, and literally took a picture every single time and then cut it in to animate it. And
awesome.
yeah, so that was, again, something where it's like, okay, I can do that myself, and it made for a pretty interesting, video. But
do you know how to use that software, like the Final Cut or whatever? Do you have anything like
that? A little bit. I did some of that back in college, but this, I found that Lego made this app for stop motion, and it's really meant for like little kids to do like stop motion videos with Lego. But I thought, I was like, oh, I could make a thing out of it. And the only thing that was a problem was because it's not made for real professional use, it's for kids just making little fun videos. When you go and make an edit, it doesn't start from where you stopped. Right. So every time you want to see if you made a mistake, you had to start at the beginning again. So the further you got into the video, you had to go back and rewatch everything that came before you could get to the part to see whether or not you made a mistake or where you were going to add something in. So towards the end of the video, it was like, all right, now I got to watch all 3 minutes again before I can get to the part. Nope, that didn't work. Fix it. Let me try again. Go through the whole thing.
That's
so
obnoxious.
It's not like because it's not a real editing app,
Okay,
so
fuck that.
that was. But
there's
again,
Adobe software that works way better than that.
But again, it was really easy for the capturing of the stop motion, from that aspect, which is why I started using it. And by the time I realized the limitations of the software, I was too far in. So you just kind of had to go with it.
That's cool though. You made a Lego app video. That's super cool.
Yeah.
All right. So when it comes to dealing with, you know what? I'm going to ask this first. Style wise, who do you look to? Was there anyone? Did you just start sort of writing songs and organically found a sound, or is there something you wanted to sound like?
Honestly, I don't remember why I started writing the way that I do. It probably would just be the bands that I was listening to grow up. I mean, I've always tried to listen to a lot of different stuff. I mean, I was, in 8th grade, especially being a drummer, like Rush was one of my first passions.
Sure. Right.
But then as I got into high school, I was in the Grateful Dead for a while, and Dave Matthews and Bare Naked Ladies and Matchbox 20 and a lot of those like 90s rock bands.
Yeah.
But again, I've always liked everything, from bands like Incubus and some of the heavier stuff to a little bit of country every now and then. And again, good music's good music, right? But I feel like I've always kind of gravitated towards that singer-songwriter, acoustic deal.
In the best possible sense, you definitely have a pop sensibility. Like you get very hooky songwriting,
right?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, when my dad listened to a lot of classic rock, so he was like big into Steve Miller and Zeppelin and all that. And I didn't really appreciate a lot of that stuff until I got a little bit older into high school.
Yeah.
But Beatles, became one of my favorite bands as I got a little bit older, and I just kind of fell into that particular genre because I think maybe at the time when I started writing, those were the bands and stuff that I was listening to. So it wasn't like necessarily, okay, this is the kind of music I want to write. It's just when I sat down to write a guitar, that's just kind of what came out.
Like, what would you call it? Is just singer-songwriter, like indie, I guess?
I guess, acoustic rock. I feel like we used to call ourselves acoustic-driven rock when I was in band in college because we felt like that was the best way to do it. I always played acoustic, and so that was kind of at the front and center of everything. But we had electric guitar player, and we tried to be a bit of a rock band like those 90s rock bands are. I mean, honestly, now you'd probably call it modern country because I feel like modern country's turned into 90s rock. You know?
Kind of,
but I don't feel like I sound country, and I don't have the voice for it, But
the twang.
Yeah.
I would say it's a singer-songwriter indie kind of sound for sure. For sure.
I mean, it's great. I love your music, and it, as we were saying before, it's also well recorded. You know, you just did such a wonderful job.
Really good.
I mean, that's again, like all credit to Zach. You know, I mean, he's
no man, take all the credit.
no. Listen, you've got to work with people that make you better. You know, like
absolutely.
I always say, even when I'm playing live or when you're recording people, I want to be the worst musician in the group.
Yeah,
because
I am.
I know that if I'm the worst, then it's going to be great. You know, it's going to sound good because you know I'm not a great musician, but I'm not a terrible musician. So if I'm the worst one, then I know I've got good people behind me, and that's ultimately going to make it sound better.
Sure. Well, this ties perfectly into our favorite question, which is, do you practice?
Not as much anymore. I mean, not in the practice sense that you guys are probably talking about. I mean, I try to play the guitar, you know, as often as I can when I get breaks. Again, it's not as in long stretches as it used to be, but anytime I get a spare moment, I mean, my guitars hang on the wall in our living room now, so I'm usually just grabbing it off the wall and picking it up and
put it there, at least,
and playing. You know, always just trying to come up with different ideas. And like I said, I record them into the notes, and it might be 6 months before I get back to it. But if I've got an idea at that moment, I need to get it down, and at least I'm starting to build something, so I've got ideas to work on, you know, down the road.
Yeah.
But if I've got a gig coming up and I haven't played in a while, then I'll go through and kind of, you know, make sure, let me run through this and make sure I don't remember how, or I remember how to do it, so I don't get up and play it and like forget the bridge or you know, whatever. But yeah, not like I did when I was first starting out. You know, I'd come home from high school and I'd just play for 3 or 4 hours. You know, put on my favorite record and play the whole thing start to front. You know, You know, I don't do that anymore. Yeah,
I used to do that with Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and I used to just sit there and jam through the whole thing. Yeah. Those were the days, man. Did you watch that episode of this with the guy Christopher Maloney from Practice Warriors?
That was one that I missed, so it's on my list to go back and watch, but I didn't see that one. I've seen the ones before
really
and after.
Interesting,
but,
dude. That's one of my favorite things we've ever done on the podcast. The guy's an inspiration. Really made you want to practice, you know.
Really? Yeah, I never ever practiced, and up until I left for Vegas, I pretty much practiced every day, whether it was an hour or 15 minutes. But every day I picked up my stand-up bass.
You're making me feel guilty. I was like,
every day I picked up my stand-up bass or my harmonica, and I practiced.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should, right? Because that's the only way that you keep it or get better. But
I mean, I think that it's obviously a good thing to do, and do you necessarily have to be a musician all the time? No, but I think that, you know, the people who do and have a good regimen with it, it's obvious, you know, it stands
when
out.
You're starting out, absolutely. I mean, my son is starting to play the drums. He's 6, and he's been at it for like almost a year now, where like he's playing all the time and he's watching videos of kids playing, or he's watching drumline videos. I'm like, all right, this isn't a phase anymore. Like he's really into it. So we're starting to get him lessons and to play a little bit more. And I keep telling him, I'm like, listen, you need to play. You need to come home and you need to practice. You know, they're teaching him paradiddles and different things like that. And I'm like, you need to work on it, you know, and because if you don't, then you can't just go to the lesson or this or whatever. Like you have to do it at home. You can get there, but it's going to take you that much longer.
Yeah.
You know, I have people all the time that come up to me and they're like, "Oh, can you teach me how to play guitar? Or how'd you learn I want to play guitar." And I'm like, "Just do it. You know, no one taught me. I just got a book of chords and learned how to play it, and I played with songs." But listen, if you only play once a week, you just got to understand it's going to take you a long time to do it.
Yeah.
I used to play 3 or 4 hours every day when I was a kid, so I was able to move quicker.
That up. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Ben has mentioned this before too. You know, people come up to you after the after a Killbilly show, they'll go during a break or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I wish I had your talent," and it's always the same. You know, the response is just like, but it's not talent; it's practice. It's hard work.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Listen, I can give you my talent. What it's going to take is 20 minutes a day for the next year.
Yeah. You have to have some innate ability to understand it, right? That certainly helps. But yeah, if you're not putting the time in, you'll get there. It's just going to take you that much longer, you know. As people get older, they're like, "Oh, everybody wants something so fast." And it's like, listen, if you only have an hour because of family or your job or whatever to work on it, then you just have to be patient and understand it's going to take you a while to get it. Yeah. But if you do a little bit at a time, eventually you'll have something.
Yeah.
You know,
that's absolutely
and
right.
if you can do 3 or 4 hours a day, every single day, then you're going to get the result you want a lot faster.
Yeah.
So it's just about what you can do, but doing something, even a little bit, is better than nothing, because eventually over time that will accumulate.
Absolutely. No, it's something that I've been doing a lot more since I put the demon drink down, and it's definitely been it's been great. My guitar playing's got a lot better. I can like find little comping chords in the middle of solos and stuff now, you know, which is something that always slightly eluded me, but I'm definitely starting to get there with that, which makes me very happy. So you played with a lot of big names. Could you sort of rattle a few off and tell us about that?
I say opened for Jason Mraz, Fall Out Boy, Bon Jovi, Winger, Night Ranger,
Crazy.
Steve Miller.
That's awesome.
Edwin McCain, Sister Hazel.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm forgetting people.
So how did
Styx,
this?
Daughtry.
Yeah, cool.
Damn, dude. That's awesome.
How did that happen?
All of them are a bit weird, you know. I mean,
Right.
some of them, like I was kind of telling you guys before the show, like some of them you just randomly email people and you get a gig. You know, sometimes some people say yes, and sometimes, you know, it's when we were in college, we were playing. We used to play. Went to Michigan State, so we used to play around Michigan State quite a bit. So we kind of developed a bit of a following and name. And in 2000, Al Gore was doing his campaign tour through the state and was stopping in different places. And he had Bon Jovi with him, and they wanted musicians and stuff to fill the time. So we got selected as one of the bands to play.
Nice.
And you know, so we were played in front of like 8,000 people in the downtown. So
That's awesome.
again, that was just kind of a random deal because, you know, it was around the college and we were in the area and got, you know, asked to do it.
Yeah.
You know, again, I think like the Jason Mraz gig, that happened again because I was at Michigan State and he was kind of a new artist and he got booked, and I happened to know somebody or kind of knew somebody enough that like was booking it to be like, hey, can I do this? And they were like, all right, well, he's not bringing anybody, so sure, we could use an opener. And you just kind of luck out.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of the gigs have been Sunfest. You get selected and you get to open, you know, play in front of somebody in front of Sunfest. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one day. Hopefully it'll happen for Killbillies, you know, with the... Do you hear that, guys? Hopefully it will happen for Killbillies. Yeah, that'd be really
I feel like
awesome.
we're running for president or something. Killbilly Sunfest 2023.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be wonderful.
yeah, one time I just got asked to play a college, and I forget how. We had played the college before, and so they liked the show so much they wanted to bring me back, and they were doing this event. And they're like, hey, we've got this band coming from Chicago. You want to open? I said, sure. And we get there, and it was Fall Out Boy. But at that time, they weren't signed yet. They were still just like, they were a regional band. I think they had just done their record that eventually, you know, got them big. But, you know, they were just a Chicago band really at the time. But I'd never heard of them. So we go down there and, you know, do the show. And I opened up and, you know, met them afterwards. They gave me a CD, signed and everything. And, you know, then like 8 months later, they're on MTV. And I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you just kind of get lucky, but, you know, it's trying to meet people and network and, you know, show that you're capable and professional enough to be on one of those type of gigs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
and then once
you
get
don't
a couple behind you, then you can say you've done it. I mean, it increases your chances in future.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if people look at that and take it seriously. Like, I don't care if you've opened up for anybody. Like, you're still a nobody and you're not opening on this stage. You know, some people may have that attitude, but I feel like if you have a resume of some sort, at least it shows like, I've done this and I've been capable enough to do it. Like, maybe you're more willing to give me an opportunity on it.
Yeah.
And again, what's the worst thing that can happen? They just tell you no.
No, totally. Yeah.
So
are you looking to? Because what's going on with releases at the moment? Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah. So
there?
October of 2020, Zach and I started recording 2 songs, and then we kind of enjoyed doing that. So then we started doing
duos
kind of more. Yeah. So we did. Well, once I had enough, I was like, what do I do with this? You know, like, do I release them all at once? Do I do like 4 of them now? And then, you know, I had no idea. And I didn't even know that we were ever going to do enough to make a full record. So it was really kind of like there wasn't a plan. And then Zach said, you know, with the way things are now, it's probably better to release them in smaller increments more often than like in one chunk.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's do them 2 at a time. And so I ended up calling the record Duos, and we did volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, I kind of wanted to treat them as like sequels to a movie in a sense, you know?
Right, yeah.
So all the record albums, they all have a similar vibe to them, and we kind of went with this like retro horror vibe, you know, like the old horror posters. And I was kind of thinking about the 80s with like Friday the 13th and Jason, and we're like, you know, using those sequels and everything. And yeah, we just did them 2 at a time. And then once I was going to do volume 5 because I had 2 more, but then I was like, well, now we've got a couple more. Let's just wait and put now them all together, and we'll just leave these last couple for the record.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now we've got 4 that haven't been released along with the other 8, I think. And so now we'll have a 12-song record that we're trying to finish up.
That's 12 songs, yeah. Well, is there any kind of idea of when that's going to be released?
I'm hoping February or March. You know, at this point, I really wanted it to be out now. Like I was hoping to release in October because a couple of the songs have been done for a couple of months.
Right.
But then one of the songs we just finished maybe like 3 weeks ago. And then last minute, we went in to record horns for this last song. And I told Zach, since we have the horn players there, why don't we record one of my covers that like I always do in my original gigs? It's kind of like my cover.
Right, yeah.
And I've always wanted to record it. I said, why don't we just do it? And we've got the horn guys there. Let's just knock it out. And so we're still waiting for that one to be finished. So that's kind of held up, the getting the record done. But now we're just getting too close to the end of the year. I don't think it makes sense to release in like December.
Unless it's a Christmas album. Or
yeah.
something,
So I figured, at this point, you might as well wait until February, March, once people get past the holidays and the New Year and all of that, and try to give it as much of an opportunity as possible to get heard.
That's cool. Once you release it, are you planning on supporting it with shows?
Yeah, hopefully. Again, it's trying to find places down here that are supportive to live music, or again, if I can put together musicians to do stuff full band, because that's what I would prefer to do, just to really properly represent, the record.
Well, we really like your music, so if you want to come and play the 561 Music Festival, that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
On that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the other problem is I don't have an album title name, and I have not been able to figure one out. So that's the other holdup is, I don't know what to call it, and then I've got to get artwork done for it. So I'm still trying to work that out. Nothing sounds good to me. I feel like every name I come up with sounds cool for a second, and then I say it out loud again, and I'm like, no, that's absolute garbage. So
I know how that feels.
Got to work through that and figure it out.
I was in a band with Matt Krug, the guy from Propaganda. Do you know that guy?
Mm-mm.
Anyway, he ran Propaganda at Lake Worth for the longest time. And we couldn't figure out a name for the band, and we just ended up calling it No Name Ska Band because we couldn't think of a name. Like, we just gave in the end.
Yeah, we did. My high school band, we were called Under Construction for a little while because we were submitting a thing to play our high school talent show, and they needed a name. And we said, well, just tell them the name's Under Construction. We'll tell them here in a little bit. We're going to figure it out. And they were like, well, don't tell them that's the name because they'll think that's the name of the band. Yeah. And then everyone was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then it just stuck. And, again, it wasn't the intention, but it ended up just being the name. So
that's awesome. So, talking about playing music, which I guess is what we've been doing this entire time. You want to play us a couple of tunes?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Nice.
Let's do it.
I've been searching for the one but find I'm always out of reach, and I'm getting closer all the time. It's not easy knowing what you like without being face to face, and I just wanna dance into the light. Can you hear me? What are you waiting for? Go on and sing a little bit louder now. And I wanna be everything to you. Can you hear me? Sometimes I wish I was different, but then I wouldn't be me, and I'm a color on my own. Maybe I need a new arrangement, or something to pass the time. Show me things I've always thought I've known. Can you hear me? What are you waiting for? Go on and sing a little bit louder now. I wanna be everything to you. Can you hear me? And I know what I wanna say, but they don't hit you quite the same. Tell me what you wanna hear. Can you hear me? What are you waiting for? Go on and sing a little bit louder now. And I wanna be everything to you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? What are you waiting for? were times I thought I'd never find you. Others let me down, so I gave up. Suddenly you appeared out of nowhere. You showed me that I was more than enough. Everything I hope to be and everything I am, and I'm better here with you. I've waited for this moment for a lifetime. Well, I wanna be the one who shines bright in your dark. And how did I find someone who was perfect as you are? And I can't wait to start the life we're meant to lead. And if you're here with me, it's where I'm supposed to be. Now that you are standing here before me, all the other people fade away, and I can't help but think about the future. There's only that two words left for me to say, yeah. And I wanna be the one who shines bright in your dark. And how did I find someone who was perfect as you are? And I can't wait to start life we're meant to lead. And if you're here with me, it's where I'm supposed to be. Take this dance with me, and we'll start to see our two lives becoming one. I wanna be the one who shines bright in your dark. And how did I find someone who's perfect as you are? And I wanna be the one who shines bright in your dark. And how did I find someone who was perfect as you are? And I can't wait to start the life we're meant to lead. And if you're here with me, and now that you're here with me, and if you're here with me.
.561 Music is brought to you by Handlebars Bar and Grill. It's a biker bar in Tequesta, and if you're driving up US 1, you come across it on the right-hand side. It's a little bar there. It's bright yellow. You can't miss it with handlebars on the sign. And it has a long and storied history. It's been there. It used to be called Judy's, and it was run by this guy Victor, who sadly passed this year, R.I.P. Victor. And then my father-in-law took it over, and he's doing a great job up there. There is a bike night every second Thursday of the month, and there is a jam every fourth Sunday of the month. If you're interested in that kind of thing, it's just an all-inclusive, any kind of music, any style, any ability type of a jam. And there's great beers on tap, and they're wonderful food. Bernsey, the chef, does a fantastic job. If you're interested in classic cars or classic bikes, there's always that kind of stuff hanging around there. It attracts that sort of a crowd because it's called Handlebars Bar and Grill, so it makes sense. And yeah, you should come swing by. It's definitely a local spot and has a lot of character. And there's people who have been going there for decades and decades. It's one of those places that's a part of the furniture in Tequesta, and you should definitely come check it out. I booked the music for the place and love doing it, and I was a part of helping set the place up, and I'm a huge fan, and anyone who is interested in biker bars, or even if you've just never been to one and you're curious about what a biker bar is about, you should go and check out Handlebars Bar and Grill. We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Kava Bar is in Sea Grape Square on Indiantown Rd, and it is a kava bar. If you don't know anything about kava, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water. And it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, that brings people together. You all take a shell of kava and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a kava bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of kava bars. Some of them are more like a club, there's sort of like blacklight and EDM playing. And some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby-foot as they call it in France. And Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Root Kava Bar. 561 Music is brought to you by Live Music Community. It's the place that we're recording this podcast in right now. It is a school, but it's also a recording studio and a live streaming venue, and we can do all sorts of different things here. If you have any kind of project that you're trying to get off the ground, then we can film you and help you put together an EPK and record a demo for you. We can even record, full albums if you want. We have all the resources here. We have a green screen so you can do interesting music videos and stuff like that, and some great equipment, some really nice Blackmagic cameras and proper recording equipment. But really the thrust of the place is that it is a school. So the main thing that we do is help young musicians from as young as 5 to really all the way through to adults, but we focus mainly on the young people, and we help them learn what it's like to be in a band. So we get them together and teach them so individual lessons, but also in groups. And when we teach them in the groups, it's not just a question of teaching them how to play a whole load of covers. We help them learn how to write their own songs. We encourage them to make merchandise. We teach them of the things that could go wrong when they're at a gig, and all of the little things that you wouldn't necessarily think of that go into what it's like being in a band and how to be a band and how to be professional. And it's great. We've seen great success with these kids. They play fantastically. And I think not only is it a good thing for people who want to be in a band, just the life skills that go along with it in terms of working as a team and the courage to stand up in front of people to do something are invaluable. And we see these kids grow into amazing young adults. We've had a wonderful time doing this and really enjoy it. Justin, who runs the place, Justin Hucker, is a really inspirational leader of young people, I have to say, and I really enjoy seeing him work with them, and I'm proud to be one of his members of staff. We have it's Yaz and me and Justin and Mike Scott and Corey and Ryan are currently the members of the team, and we cover all the instruments. A few of us are multi-instrumentalists, and then we have Ryan, who pretty much focuses directly on drums. We've got pretty much everything across the board when it comes to teaching you how to be in a band, teaching you how to play your instrument, and so that's Live Music Community. Come by and check us out. We are at 9091 North Military Trail, number 8, and it's Palm Beach Gardens, Florida 33410. So if you're heading from West Palm Beach north on Military Trail. As soon as you go past North Lake on your left, just tuck into the first little plaza there on your left, and it's in the corner. Come and see us. If you just want to come and have a look around, we're open from about 2 p.m. to about around 8 or 9 most days of the week, and then there's usually someone hanging around here on weekends too. So anytime you want to swing by, just come and see us, or if you want to give us a call, look us up online, just write Live Music Community and all of our details are there. The number is 561-951-6902. All right, thank you very much. So seeing as we were talking about Live Music Community, do you have any advice for people who are starting out on their journey of becoming a musician?
I'd say just do it. You just pick up whatever your instrument is, try to learn. I mean, if you can find somebody to teach you and all of that, that's great. Yeah. But I think just having the passion for yourself is a good place to start. When I played guitar, like I said, I want to be a drummer, but kind of picked up guitar on the side. I remember I had just had a book with like every chord, or maybe it was actually a book that had like the 10 basic chords. And so I learned to play those. And then it was like, all right, let me start with being able to go from one chord to the next. And then I just found, all right, what's the song that I like? And I learned to play that song. You start with Nirvana and then you move to something else. And, then it was like, all right, well, now I like this band. Let me, you go and buy the tab book at the guitar store and you just play the record from start to finish. And then, again, you just keep practicing. And as you learn harder songs, they start to teach you things, like, and I was big into Dave Matthews as a kid, and the way he plays guitar taught me different styles and techniques, and how to stretch the fingers out a certain way, or different chord voicings that I wouldn't have picked up in a book. Yeah, and you just got to go through it.
Yeah, analyzing your favorite players like that goes a long way. I definitely did that with Jimmy Page. I watched The Song Remains the Same video like 40,000 times when I was a kid.
I think the toughest part is you just got to stick with it and not give up super easy, because at the beginning it can be frustrating, especially with guitar, because nothing sounds right. It's hard to get your fingers to get the strings down in the right place, so that way it doesn't sound like no noise or like a buzzing sound.
Yeah.
And I remember I couldn't figure out how to do a bar chord forever, and I hated it. It just never sound good. And then one day I could do it, and it was like, well, that's weird. How could I do that today and I couldn't yesterday? Eventually you'll get it.
Yeah, that's what I always tell my students is, just keep trying to do it, and eventually it just clicks.
It wasn't, and it was literally, it just felt like out of nowhere. I did it, and then it happened, it was like, whoa. And now it's like, how do you not do it? You can't it's like, how did I ever not get this? It just, you just have to stick with it, and one day it just clicks.
That's one of the hardest things, though, is that, that instant gratification, whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult. I mean, it happens with me all the time, like I was saying, I've been practicing my upright a lot, and, I went out, I bought a bow. I was going to learn how to start bowing the upright and stuff. And, same thing. I started bowing. I practiced it like 2 times. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I can't do it. And it wasn't until, the episode with the practice warriors and stuff, and we were talking about practicing stuff, that I actually started picking up the bow again and practicing. I'm still terrible at it, but I'm now consciously aware of the fact that it's not an instant thing. And where I may just wake up one day and suddenly it's working, it wasn't instant. I actually had to work to get to that instant point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was something Christopher Maloney was saying in the Practice Warriors episode, is that even though it does just happen eventually, it's because of that incremental, your hands slowly getting more and more in the shape, and then bop, there hanging.
Right. It feels like it just happened, but it didn't just happen. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not great at finger picking, but as I've done it more, I'm definitely better at it now than I used to be. And I find myself, because I've been doing it more at home, like when I'm just messing around, maybe trying to be a little bit quieter, so don't want to use a pick, that now I feel a little bit better about it, where now I've actually written songs from a finger picking perspective, where I never would have considered that before, because now I feel like, okay, this isn't absolutely terrible, and can't do it as well as some people that I see, but again, I've got there just because of repetition and doing it, and over time now I can get to the point where I'm like, all right, I can do it. It may not be the best thing ever, but I can fake it.
Building up that muscle memory slowly but surely. Yeah, exactly. Finger picking, it was the same with me. It just I think that I eventually got to be able to do it just from all of those hours of playing around campfires and jamming with my friends when I was young, and just putting the hours and hours and hours in, and slowly stuff starts to click. And I don't think it's a particularly I don't think it's something that is as much in our culture anymore, like working slowly towards a goal. You know, everything is so quick and instant these days. I think, I don't know if it's necessarily happening more, but I'm noticing it more. It might be because I'm getting older, or it might be a reality that, you know, kids seem to just not have any attention span, you know, like some do, but then, you know, a lot of the people that I teach, is a big part of it is just persuading them to stick at it, you know. It's like a lot of teaching that I find.
Yep.
So could you tell us a little bit about the songs you just played for us?
Yeah, so the first one is called Hear Me, and that's from one of the duo's EPs that came out a couple months ago. It's really just a song about me trying to find the song, right? Like always searching for like the song that you think is going to take you to the next level or might finally get people to pay attention to what you're doing. You know, I feel like, you know, as a songwriter, you're kind of always chasing that, you know, but, you know, as I've been doing it, you always feel like you get it. And then nothing comes from it, and then so it's like the next time it happens, you're like, okay, well, this is finally the one, and then nothing happens, and so you're like, now you're just continually chasing, and so that's really kind of like what that one's about. And then the second one was called Be the One, and that's from the record I did in 2019, and that one was my sister got married in 2018, I think it was, and 2017, and my parents were like, well, you're gonna sing a song and write a song for her wedding, right? And I was like, no, you know, and they're like, well, you have to. And I was like, look, if I can write one and it's not terrible, then I would be happy to do it. But that's a lot of pressure to like, you know, make me write a song. Because what if I get up there and it's absolutely terrible? Like, I don't want to ruin somebody's wedding because like, oh, look at the bride's brother's got to get up there and show that he's a singer and like that song was terrible. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
So I was really like, I don't know if it's going to happen. Like, if I can make it work, cool. But I went to Michigan to play a gig back home and had some time off, and my brother-in-law had a guitar, and I came up with the melody. Again, I think I had the music, and maybe I had the line, I want to be the one, and that was about it. Cut to like 6 or 7 months later, whatever, and I went to sit down to do it, and I started thinking about like what it means to get married. Like I didn't want to write about their relationship because that's not my story to tell. Yeah. But I thought about like, what does it mean to get married? What's your wedding day like? Thought about my wedding and all those kinds of things, and thought, let me write a wedding song about like just that day and being with somebody who does that. Yeah. And then the song like kind of just came out, and when I finished it, I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. And so then I played it at their wedding. They had no clue that I was playing.
Oh, nice.
And it wasn't very good because I was the most nervous I've ever been playing a gig ever. So
I've played so many weddings at this point. I haven't been invited to a wedding and not been asked to play since I was like 18.
Well, this is like I'm playing the song for the first time live, basically, and it's for them. It was definitely, just, again, I wasn't expecting to be at that, but when I was in the moment playing, it was definitely way more nerve-wracking than I was expecting.
Yeah, I bet,
But then, we ended up deciding to record it, and it was actually the first single I put out from the record, and Zach did a phenomenal job with the production on it. It's one of my favorite, recordings. I think they took the song to another level than I was expecting. Yeah. So, it turned out well.
Nice, man.
Does Zach do all the sorry, he does, when you say production, is it all the way through mastering and everything?
Yeah.
Nice.
He does the mastering, the mixing. He also plays guitar, and he does a lot of the keys and synths and stuff when we have that. Usually we have, again, Fernando on bass, and then I've kind of had this rotating cast of drummers that have done it, but for the most part, it's been Zach. And then, I did one record where it was like every song had horns because I'm a big Phil Collins and Huey Lewis and stuff like that from the 80s. Like I love bands with horns.
Yeah, me too.
Real Big Fish, even like the ska and those types of stuff. So I had a song that was very horn heavy, and so I've got some horn friends that would come out and play. But even on a couple of these new songs, I found some horn players online, and again, they just record their stuff wherever they're from, and they send me the track. And
wicked.
We do it.
Yeah, if it ever comes up again, man, get in touch.
For sure.
I do a little bit of. I do actually quite a lot of sax session work. That's probably the thing I get hit up for most. Actually, I did. I had one sax solo on a song that's out called "Better Than That," and I found this guy again on Instagram because he did a remix for a band that I liked, and it was kind of sax centric, whereas everyone else's was electronic centric.
Sure.
And I thought he was a great sax player, so we did a song together.
Nice.
And then he actually did a solo for another song, this one that hasn't come out yet, and we actually nixed it and swapped it out for a guitar solo because as we kind of got further into the song, one of the guys that is singing backup on it, who's a singer for a band I was a big fan of growing up, he kind of made the suggestion that he thought the sax kind of didn't feel like it fit right in there. Yeah. And the more we talked about it, we kind of felt like, a guitar made more sense. So I ended up getting a guitar player for another musician that I'm a big fan of to play guitar, and he did the solo. But Zach had done like all the other guitars. This guy just came in to do, this solo on it because we were trying to find like the right, vibe for that. So. Yeah, it's just, always just trying to find like different people to fill in the gaps where you need them. But
yeah. No, I respect how professionally you take that recording process, and that you really want, well polished finished product, because not everyone goes to those lengths and has such quality players. I mean, it's
that's
impressive.
why I wanted to work with Zach when we did the record in 2010, because it was right before I was going to have my first kid, and I didn't know if that meant I was still going to be playing music and be able to record. I didn't know what being a father was going to bring.
How many kids do you have now?
2.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually. Is it difficult, kind of balancing everything?
I mean, it can be. Job is can be busy, and 2 kids. My wife's a teacher, so she's busy as well, and so it's trying to find time for everything. I mean, I used to play a lot of gigs, 3-4 times a month, which is a lot for me, not for some people, but it was basically every Friday or Saturday I was playing, and it can sometimes be a lot, but again, music is what I love, and it's when you're really passionate about something, you make time for it. Again, I try to do stuff either late at night when the kids aren't around. Again, I may only get the guitar for 5 or 10 minutes one day while they're in the shower or they're away for a minute or whatever, and you just try to grab those little moments here and there and plug it in when you can.
I tell people that a lot. When people say, "Oh, I don't have time," my normal response for that is, if you wanted to do it, you'd make time. I'm sure you do stuff in your life that it is time consuming, but you probably do it, because you like it. So, it comes down to how much do you want it. You know what I mean?
It's adjusting the time. It's like there's only so many things only so many hours in the day. So if you have a lot of passions, you can only do so many things. Like, you can watch a TV show, you can watch a movie, you can play a video game, you can do whatever your other hobby is, or if you're passionate about music, like you can do that. If you've got to work and do these other things in family, then maybe the writing a song has got to come at 10, 11 o'clock at night because it's the only time you get to do it.
I was just gonna say, or you could do like I do and not sleep. So your kids are what now, like 10, 12?
11. My daughter's 11 and my son is 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, I can imagine juggling that juggling that age right now with everything going on, and then trying to still do the music and everything else. So yeah.
But when I did that record, I was like, if this is the last one I ever make, like I want it to be the best sounding thing that I've ever done. And I was really impressed with Zach's works prior, and then we did that record, and we've just kept working. I think we've done like over 30 songs together now in 10 plus years. So it worked out better than I was expecting at the time, but the goal was like, this has got to be professional, because I don't want, if you don't like the music, you don't like my songwriting, that's totally cool, right? Everyone's
subjective,
it's subjective, but I don't want it to be like, well, the song's cool, but man, that recording it just doesn't sound good because you didn't have the right musicians, or the recording isn't very good. Like, I wanted the music to stand on its own. So again, if you don't like it, no big deal, but like, it's not because it wasn't done properly.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense to me. You brought a really interesting guitar that I'm really interested to hear you just tell a little bit about it, because I'd never seen it before, actually.
Yeah, so it's a Gibson Chet Atkins SST. You can see I've got some war marks on it.
Yeah, dude. All the best guitars do.
That's from beating it up over the years. But I've had that guitar since I was 18. And it's been through a lot. It's an acoustic electric guitar. What's kind of interesting about it is it's all solid wood all the way through. And what I really liked about it was it's thin like an electric.
Yeah.
So most acoustics are really fat, and so sometimes your arm goes over it and your arm kind of falls asleep, and it takes a while to get used to that. This, you don't have to deal with that. And then the frets are also a little bit smaller too, so you could really stretch out and get some nice chord progressions. Again, more like an electric guitar. The frets are a little bit closer together compared to like a regular acoustic. So it just plays really, really nicely. When I play live and you get to play through a proper sound system, it's so loud. The output level on it, for whatever reason, is just always much hotter than other guys' guitars. So usually the sound people have to like turn me down because the input level is like way higher than they were expecting.
Yeah.
But it sounds awesome when you can play it through like a really nice sound system. So again, no feedback, which is great. But I love the way that it plays, and because I play a little bit on the percussive side, it allows me to do that, and I'm not getting, again, any weird noises that come along with it. So
you can get up to 24 frets, too. You can do 2 octaves on it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a really interesting guitar. I mean, I guess not on all the strings, but on the ones that you probably need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So,
man.
yeah, it's I mean, that's my guitar, and again, I've had it for so long now, and they don't make them anymore. So it's like if anything ever happened to it, I'd just be like, crushed. Because I've yet to find another guitar that I like playing live, or I like the way it sounds live as much.
Yeah.
I'll hear other people play guitars. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. But if I tried to do it, I don't feel like I would like the way I sound playing through that same guitar sometimes,
Yeah. No,
so,
totally.
yeah, it's...
Finding your axe is very important. That's a really cool one. I was Googling it earlier just to kind of check it out. And yeah, they don't run cheap either. It's a nice guitar, man.
Yeah, I think it might have been just a little under $2,000 when I bought it, Actually, I think my parents probably bought it for me, or I put some money towards it. So thanks, Mom and Dad, for the help on that. But now they're probably still pretty expensive just because they don't make them and they're hard to find. I'm sure if anyone's selling them, they're probably trying to get a decent amount for it. But sometimes you just don't know what condition it's in, used, and all of that.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's super badass. So, what have you got coming up? Is there anything that we should know about in terms of the future?
I mean, just the new record is kind of the big thing that I'm looking forward to getting out there, especially the last 3 songs, are probably my 3 favorite that I've got coming. One of the songs, we talked about the one that I played today being Chasing the Song. To me, this is the song, but I've had this feeling before. But I think it's the best song that I've ever written, as far as like hooky, catchy wise and all of that, melodically. I'll send stuff to Zach, ideas, and usually he's like, yeah, I think it's cool. Finish it, finish that out. It's, good start or something like that. When I sent him this one, he was like,
that's it.
Dude, he was super excited. It was a different level of excitement than other ones. Not that. I don't think any of us have delusions of I'm not going to be on the radio or anything, but I think we felt like, all right, this is a really good one, and the production's on it's great. I've got a guy that's singing backup on it that was in a band that I was a huge fan of growing up, so I was really excited about that because anytime you can work with like somebody that you look up to, it's always pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And then, like I said, we had to add the guitar player in, and he plays guitar for Edmund McCain, who's one of my favorite musicians. So to have him playing guitar on it was really great. So I'm excited about it. But then, one of the other songs is one of my favorite songs. It may not be my best song, but for me personally, it's one that started out finger picking.
Yeah.
And I actually think I recorded it finger picking as well. So it's kind of a cool little melody line. But I'm just excited to get it out there. I was concerned when we did the last record because I thought that was the best stuff I'd done at the time. Like, man, how am I going to write better songs than this?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of songs in here. Like as a whole, I think this is just as good, if not better, than the last one. And that's
surprised. You do something and you always think it's the best thing you did until you do the next thing.
Yeah,
and that's the best.
When
thing
you've done it,
Yeah.
you can't imagine how do I top this? And I like that. And maybe every musician thinks this, but I like that. I feel like I've always gotten better as I've gotten older. I listen to some of the stuff from back in college where I'm like, I don't know how anybody gave us a shot listening because those songs were not good or we didn't sound good. But, maybe that's how every musician feels. But, sometimes you have a lot of people that it's like, I'll ask them their favorite song and they'll tell me one from I'm like, really? That's the song that you think is my favorite of yours? Or your favorite of mine? That's crazy to me because this song here is 10 times better than that one, but.
Yeah.
People
it comes back to that subjective thing,
Well, and I think people have attachments from when they first discovered a person. You know, if you came into a band on album 4, you might like album 4 the best, whereas the band people that started at the beginning probably think album number 1 is the best.
Yeah, 100%.
You
ever sent anything? You were saying you sent stuff to Zach, and he's like, "Yeah, that's good. Finish it." You ever sent anything to him, and he goes, "You got anything else?"
Yeah. Oh yeah. There'll be ideas. So there'll be ideas where I get done and I'm like, this is really cool. And again, I'm sending him really, really rough stuff. So I appreciate that he listens to my absolute garbage with nonsense lyrics and terrible recording. But I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? It's kind of just a rough idea. And he'll be like, I think you've got better stuff, or I don't know.
And that's good because you don't want. If he was just always super encouraging, you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't trust his judgment.
No, you're right. And at the time when you're in the middle of coming up with an idea that you think is great, and you're really excited about it, when you kind of get shot down, you're like that. You're like, it's kind of a bummer. But then later, again, I've got all these voice notes of all these different ideas, and I go back and listen to some of those that I never did anything more with, and I'm like, yeah, that was a good call.
Our banjo player James, which by the way, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday,
James.
He's like that. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Give his shirt off his back. But if there's any reason to push back, he will push back. And at first you may be like, what the hell? And then in retrospect, you're like, yeah, I needed that.
Yeah. You need to have good people around you that aren't just going to give you the answer that you want. Like hopefully we'll give you good, honest feedback, because if you don't, then how are you going to get better? And, you might not be putting your best foot forward.
It's actually the thing, one of the things that I really appreciate about him is that his ability to tell you how he feels about something, sort of varnished. He'll just give it to you. He's like, oh, this is what I think of that.
Very unapologetic.
Exactly. Yeah, he just goes there and he'll tell you. So he's away at the moment at a banjo camp.
He is at a banjo camp.
He's gone to Banjo Ben's camp in Texas, which is pretty amazing.
Awesome. I give him huge props, man. He said he wanted to do something fun for his 40th birthday. And we were all kind of, spitballing ideas, and he decided that this Banjo Ben guy that he follows online and takes his lessons online and stuff, the guy was having a camp, and he decided that he was going to go away to this camp. So he's there by himself. Like, awesome. I don't travel by myself. I think that's, for me, that's just, I don't know. I'm not a people person. So, but for James, like, man, that's awesome that he's just decided I'm going to do it, and he's doing it.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me happy too, because it's just a sign that he's taking what we're doing in the band seriously, which is just great. I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
So he's actually away, which means that Hector and I are playing the Square Grouper as a duo. We have never done that before.
We have never done it. I don't think we've ever played as a duo.
No.
James and I tried to play as a duo once. It was really horrible. We missed you really bad that night.
But yeah, it'll be fine. I've done stuff like that before with a bass player, and I just played the feet drums, sit on a chair. It's
going to be a little awkward because the reality is you're going to be playing guitar, you're going to be singing, you're going to be playing a kick drum with your left foot, and you're going to be playing a snare drum with your right foot, and then everybody's going to look at me and go, what the hell's that guy doing?
Except
only one instrument? What is wrong with you?
Only 4 strings? What the hell, man?
And I know I always say this, but I do genuinely believe it, is that the stand-up bass is worth like 20 instruments. It's the coolest thing ever, It looks good. Yeah, absolutely.
It makes me look good.
100% it does. So that's going to be from 3 to 6 on Saturday. And I also should mention that I'm having a wonderful time this week. My parents came to visit. Woo-hoo. So thanks for coming, Mum and Dad. It's nice to see you on this side of the Atlantic. Doesn't happen lately, since COVID and everything. Has been really hard. You really realize that you live in a foreign country when something like that happens. Yeah. Because all the rest of the time, it's like, I could just go and see him whenever. But then when you can't, you're like, oh, you feel the distance.
Yeah, there's all these restrictions that had never been there before.
Yeah, it's rough. But anyway, they're here right now. We went to the Murakami Gardens today. That was a good one.
I got married.
Really?
Is it really?
Oh, we were talking about that. I was saying how if we ever renewed our vows like Hector just did, we would do it there. That's cool.
It was great.
You would do it at the Rock and Roll Chapel?
The only thing that we were concerned about was that, because it's outdoors, if it rained, the backup option just was, I think it would have been nice, but it was nowhere near as nice as obviously right along the water and all of that. So it was kind of like, when you get one of those outdoor venues that it's known for like the outdoor setting, if that falls through, you're kind of, it's kind of a bummer.
You were afraid of a cancellation.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah. See, started and ended with it. Yeah, but it worked out. It's gorgeous right along, and they do everything. It's nice because everything's right there.
Yeah.
So I like when you not going from like one venue to the other and all of that. You had the wedding at the end of the night, right before the sun went down. Then you went up a couple of steps, and you've got the bar for happy hour, and then you go down and there's all the tables for the deal. So
place.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
They do it all up with these really nice lights. It was very cool.
Were you allowed to walk around it at night too? Was that a thing, or did they
I don't remember. I mean, honestly, your wedding night, you're so busy running around from different places, and it happens. It goes by it goes by so quickly. I don't know if anybody left. I mean, I didn't, because we were trying to see relatives and people that had come out of town. But I don't know if they would have let you walk around it or not.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll find out. If we ever do do that, I could just ask them. I guess. But thanks so much for coming, man.
No, I appreciate you guys having me.
it's been a privilege to get to chat to you like this, and you're really great. Like, you know, and like I was saying before, if we can get you on the festival, we'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love it.
Yeah, nice one.
We won't tell Ricky that you're not technically in that 561.
Yeah,
fine.
It's fine. We'll keep that quiet.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, man.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Thank
keep
you.
at it.
And as always, 561music.com. All the links are there for listening to the podcast, for watching the podcast, for donating to the podcast, for sponsoring the podcast. Eventually, of course, Killbillies is on there as well. Eventually, we're going to re-update the website and everything for the festival coming up in April. April 1st. It is not an April Fool's joke. We are doing the festival again at Matthews Brewing, and it will be April 1st, 2023.
Or is it a joke? No,
it is not a joke.
Yes,
and,
it is. No, it's not.
and we will not cancel for wind. I promise you that.
I tell you what, if it's super windy, we just have to put it on just cause.
Right? April Fools.
Yeah, you can't cancel now.
But we're going to start, I think probably soon, we're going to start deliberating and talking amongst ourselves about bands and things like that. And hopefully by January 1, our goal is to announce a preliminary list of artists that will be joining us, and then we'll start doing pre-sales.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, like, subscribe, send us money. You know the drill.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Everybody sing.